Okay, welcome to this video. And if you have tried to do an image backup on Windows, maybe you have encountered this problem that I'm going to show you. And some of my students, they have reached the same dead end, the same problem. So we're going to try to solve it. Okay, it's a bit difficult, it's a bit technical, but we're going to solve it. Okay, if you want to do an image backup of Windows, well, we're using a virtual machine. Okay, we're using a virtual machine. So I recommend. Well, sorry, because sometimes virtual machines they don't work properly. So I'm going to search for the control panel. Okay. And here in the control panel, you have on system and security, you have backup and restore Windows 7. Okay, this is the application that we use in order to create this part, create a system image. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is if I go to File Explorer, you have to prepare for the backup. And here, as you can see, I have a partition for Windows and the applications, OS and apps. I have another partition for data, and I have added a new hard drive to do the backup. Okay, I have a bigger hard drive. My hard drive, I think the internal hard drive is like 50 gigabytes, and this one is 150 gigabytes. Okay, so in theory, everything is set up in order to do an image backup, but as we're going to see, we can have some problems. Okay, so here in control panel, system and security, backup and restore Windows 7. This backup and restore Windows 7 is the application that we have inside Windows 10 or 7 or 8, but we are on Windows 10 in order to create a system image. A system image is a complete backup bit by bit of your C partition. I recommend you to store on the C partitions, as I have told you, the operating system and the programs, the applications. So we're going to click on the left side, create a system image. And it's going to look for an external hard drive in order to save that system image. Okay, so it's looking for the devices, and it has found the external hard drive. Everything here is virtual, but if it's in your real computer, it's the same thing. Okay, you need an external hard drive to do the backup. So I'm going to click next. And which things we are going to save on the image backup? We're going to save everything but the data partition. Okay, the data partition is a different partition, a partition you use in order to store your data, your user data, like PDFs, music, photos, and Word documents, everything. Okay, but we need to store in the image backup. We're going to do the operating system and apps partition. As you can see, it's adding to the image, and you cannot delete that because Windows needs them, two hidden partitions, the system partition and the Windows recovery environment partition. This is very important because this is where the problem is located. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to show you this in the file, in the disk manager. If you go to File Explorer, this PC, right click, manage, you can open this, and you can, on the left, you see storage disk management. So I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. Okay, so this is my disk. This 0 is my internal disk, and I have a hidden partition, the first one, that is the system partition of 50 megabytes. I have the C partition with Windows and apps, programs. I have a data partition, and I have the recovery, the Windows recovery environment partition. Okay, so when you do the backup, Windows needs to do the image backup of these three partitions. Okay, the system, the C partition, that is the one that you are seeing and you want to do the partition, and the Windows recovery environment partition, right? But there is a problem. As you can see in my installation, this system partition has 50 megabytes. You don't manage that. Okay, Windows, when you install, it creates these two partitions, these two hidden partitions, so you cannot select anything. You cannot modify anything in the Windows installation. Okay, we're going to try to modify it later because we're going to encounter this problem that is in the system partition. It has 50 megabytes. It's very small, but it only has for 20 megabytes. And normally you need 40 megabytes of free space. Okay, this free space of 20 megabytes, you need 40 megabytes. So that's why I'm going to see this problem when I'm trying to do the image backup. Okay, so I'm going to click next. And it's telling you, I'm going to do the image backup of these three partitions. The one that you want, the C, the Windows partition, the system partition, that is a hidden partition, and the Windows recovery marine partition, that is, and at the end of the disk, that is another hidden partition. I'm going to start backup, okay? And normally this should work, okay? This should make the image backup on the external hard drive, but let's see what happens. Let's check this. And you get this error, okay? Well, I've researched this error, and the problem, the message that Windows gives you is not like really helpful. So the problem is what I told you, okay? For doing the image backup, Windows needs that this system partition has at least 40 megabytes. That is really tiny, really small, but you need 40 megabytes here on the system partition. But I only have 20 because Windows 10 installed it like this. I didn't do anything, okay? I didn't choose anything. So what we can do? So first, we're going to see some things that we need to learn, okay? So let's go here, and I'm going to play you something about partitions, okay? Let's check this out. Okay, imagine that you have a new hard drive, okay? You have a new hard drive, and you plug in into Windows. So the first thing you need to choose on Windows is the partitioning scheme, okay? The partitioning scheme is the way that the disk is going to be partitioned. It's the first choice that you have to do, okay? So we have two choices, the old choice, you can see that on green, and the new choice, okay? For all disks and for new hard drives, okay? The old one, that is the most compatible, is choosing BIOS MBR partitioning scheme, okay? BIOS is for basic input-output system. It's a little piece inside your hardware that is a firmware that it has a small program in order to start up your computer, okay? That's the old way that work. And master boot record is the way of partitioning your disk. That is the old way, okay? In my case, I have my virtual machine with this choice, okay? With master boot record hard drive. But if you want, you can choose the new one. That is UEFI, that is for Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. That is like the new BIOS. And GPT, that is a globally unique identifier partition table. Okay, those are acronyms. I know that are a bit difficult, but you have to have in mind that master boot record is the old way, and globally unique identifier partition table is the new way. Okay, so first case, in the case you have the old way, okay, hard disk with master boot record. Well, when you start Windows does this. You cannot choose this, okay? It creates three partitions. You only see one, the green one that you are seeing there, but it creates three partitions as I have shown you in the disk manager. The first one is the system partition that is on the left at the beginning of the disk. The second one is the Windows, the main Windows partition, your C partition, your classic C partition with Windows installed. And the last one is the recovery partition that is at the end, on the right, okay? On the right of the hard drive. Let's check these partitions one by one. First one, system partition. This partition has around 100 megabytes, but sometimes less, okay? Like in my case, that I have only 50 megabytes of space for this system partition. That's a feature problem to create image backups, as we have seen, okay? And that's a big problem because creating image backups for Windows is really handy, and it can save you in the case of a Windows disaster, okay? The other important thing about the system partition is that this small partition, this tiny partition, contains the bootloader. What is the bootloader? It's when you start your computer, before entering that green partition where you're going to see the Windows login screen and the Windows interface, blah, blah, blah. Before that, the computer works with the system partition, that blue partition that has a small bootloader, some boot files that you need to boot your operating system, okay? Another feature of this system is that if you use BitLocker in the future, BitLocker is to encrypt your partitions. For example, you want to encrypt the Windows partition, you need this system partition in order to use BitLocker, because if you encrypt your Windows partition or your data partition or whatever partition, Windows need to start from some place that is not encrypted, okay? So you need this system partition in the case you use BitLocker in the future. Very important, you cannot, well, you can with third-party apps, but I'm not going to show you, but please do not delete this this system partition. Do not delete it, okay? Windows needs that blue partition, that system partition, in order to start, okay, in order to boot. So if you delete this system partition, your computer is going to crash and Windows is going to crash. You are not going to be able to start or to boot your Windows, okay? Another feature is that this system partition, as you have seen, it doesn't have a drive letter like C, D, E, F. It doesn't have a drive letter, and it's a hidden partition, okay? You don't see that partition on File Explorer. You can see that if you open the disk manager, as I have shown you, okay? Well, second partition, Windows OS. The Windows OS partition is where Windows files are located, okay? It's your classical C partition. It has drive letter, is not hidden, it's visible. So it's the place, the main partition where you're going to install Windows and where Windows and normally the programs are located, okay? No problem at all with that Windows OS partition. And the last one is this red recovery partition, okay? This red recovery partition is a partition that is, its space is around 500 megabytes. It's a little bigger than the system partition, and contains the Windows RE, the Windows recovery environment. It doesn't have a drive letter and is hidden, okay? What is the Windows recovery environment? Well, the Windows recovery environment, it's a place that you can, in the startup of your computer, when you switch on your computer, like pressing some combinations of keys, sometimes it's a function key, sometimes it's the delete key, you are going to enter this recovery partition, okay? So the Windows partition is not going to load, it's going to enter the recovery partition. You enter this recovery partition when you have problems, okay? When you have problems with Windows and you want to solve those problems, right? Can you delete that recovery partition? Yes, you can delete that recovery partition with third-party apps, not with the disk manager, because Windows is not going to allow you to delete that partition, but you can delete that partition and it's safe, okay? It says Windows will continue to boot and you can delete that, okay? The thing that I recommend you is that you create a USB flash drive in order to create a recovery flash drive, okay? A pen drive, flash drive, because in the case that you cannot access this recovery partition, this red recovery partition, or you have deleted or whatever, you can always start with a flash drive, and you can create that flash drive with two ways. The first way is creating a recovery disk that it's here. If you can see here in the control panel. Wait. In the control panel, you can see create a system repair disk. You can create it there, okay? You have to enter a flash drive, a USB flash drive, and that's it, okay? The other way is to use the Windows ISO file, the Windows file with the installation files, to create that flash drive, okay? You can use Rufus or other software in order to format your flash drive and have your flash drive bootable with the Windows installation files inside. When you have the Windows installation files inside and you start your computer from that flash drive, you're going to have two options. install Windows or repair Windows. So when you choose repair Windows, you're going to enter the Windows recovery environment from that flash drive, okay? Okay, second type of hard disk, the UEFI or GPT hard disk, the newer ones, okay? The partitioning in this case is the same. You have the three partitions, the system partition, the Windows partition, the recovery partition. But in this case, you have a new partition. That is the orange one, the Microsoft System Reserve. We're going to see this, okay? Okay, the first one, system. In this case, is the same. You have the boot files inside in order to start your computer. But because you are using EFI, it's named EFI System Partition, okay? EFI is for Extensible Firmware Interface. That is the new BIOS, okay? It's the evolution of the classic BIOS, the old BIOS. The new one is this partition, Microsoft Reserve Partition. Normally has 32 megabytes or 128 megabytes. And this, why this new partition? Is because the UEFI specification does not allow hidden sectors on GPT disk, okay? With master boot record disk, you have some hidden sectors. Windows needs them in order to work, but you cannot use these hidden sectors on GPT disks, this new disk. So Windows uses this new Microsoft Reserve Partition for storing software components which may have used hidden sectors on the old master boot record disk. Okay, this is technical, but you need these Microsoft Reserve Partitions in the new GPT disk. And the other two are the same, the Windows OS partition and the recovery partition. Okay, so in this case, it will be the same, but you have this new Microsoft System Reserve Partition, right? Microsoft Reserve Partition, sorry. Perfect. So we are with a big problem because we get this error when we're trying to create an image backup. Okay, so how can we avoid this error? How can we solve this error? The problem is that we don't have enough free space in the system partition, okay, in this partition, okay, in this blue, or if you are with a master boot record disk, this blue system partition, we don't have enough space because we need 40 megabytes of free space, but we have like 20, okay? Sometimes you have 20, 30, so that's a problem. Which is the solution? We're trying to do a solution, and it's because Windows does not allow even with this manager to modify those hidden partition, those system partition. We're going to use third-party apps to do this, okay? In my case, I'm using a BIOS master boot record hard disk, but if you're using GPT hard disk, it's the same, okay? The first thing is we're going to move the Windows partition to the right, okay? For example, like 100 megabytes is enough or 1 gigabyte is enough, okay? Then we're going to extend the system partition to the right to occupy the free space left by previously moving the Windows OS partition. And we're going to use this website that is a third-party tool that you can use for free. And we're going to do this in a real case study. We're using VirtualBox. We're using virtual machines. I always recommend you to use virtual machines because in a real environment, you can crash, you can malfunction your Windows, and it will not start again. So be careful with this. I recommend you to do this in a virtual machine. You can create a clone of a virtual machine. If you have a virtual machine, but you are not sure what you're going to do, if you don't want to crash or have problems with your virtual machine, you can clone it and do it with your clone, okay? Then we're going we're trying to do the image backup, but it's not working as I have shown you. So we have to move and resizing the partitions, okay? We have to move the Windows partition. And sorry, there's a typo there. It's resizing, or more or less is resizing the partitions, okay? And then after we have moved and resized the partition, we're trying to do the image backup again, okay? So first thing is going to partitionwizard.com. So I'm going to go back to my virtual machine. I'm going to minimize everything. And I'm going to open Google Chrome or whatever whatever website client you're using. So it's partitionwizard.com. Sorry, because the keyboard is not working properly. Wait, I'm going to search that on Google because wait, because I don't know if I have internet here. If I have internet here, wow, this is wait. Okay, yeah, I have internet. So partition wizard. Wait, yes. Wait. Okay, partitionwizard.com, and here you have it has a free version and a paid version. So we're going to for home Partition Wizard free, and I'm going to download this. Okay. And I have downloaded here. I'm going to show in folder. Okay. And it's this one, and I'm going to start it. Okay. Okay, yes. I'm going to minimize everything. English. Wait. Sorry. Minimize this. Okay, English. We choose everything by default, and we're going to install this third-party tool in order to modify the partitions that Windows has done for us in the installation process. Okay. If Windows had created a system partition of 100 or 200 or 300 megabytes with enough free space, I will not have this problem. Okay, but sometimes Windows does this sort of things, so you have to try to solve these issues. Okay. Okay, finish the installation of the Partition Wizard tool, and wait, some ads here. I'm going to close them. Okay. So this is the application. Okay, it's a very powerful application in order to deal with partitions, Windows. And as you can see, I have this one here with the system partition. That is the one that I have problems because I have only unused 23 megabytes, but I need 40 at least. So what we're going to do? I cannot resize it. I cannot extend this partition because on the right I have the Windows partition. So the thing we're going to do with the Windows partition, the C partition, the OS and apps partition, because I have free space, I'm going to move this to resize and to move, like, for example, 1 gigabyte. Like you can do it with 100, 200 megabytes, but okay, let's try with one gigabyte. Okay, so I'm going to right click here, and you have to choose move resize. Okay, move resize. Let's check this. And here you have this, and you can move this. Okay, and you can see the unallocated space before that is the important part. Okay, this free space that I have between the system partition and between the Windows partition. Okay, the C partition. I don't have free space. That's the problem. Okay, because I cannot make bigger the system partition. So I'm going to, for example, let's write here. Okay, wait. It's not working. Very good. Okay. Okay, that 1.1 gigabytes. Perfect. It's telling me that it's important that you do a backup before touching the partitions. That's completely fine. So please do a backup before that, especially your data backup. Okay. So I'm going to click OK. And as you can see, it's created a 1.1 gigabyte free space, allocated space here. That's the space I'm going to give to the system partition. Okay, so I'm going to select the system partition, the small one, the one that is giving me all those headaches, all those problems. So I'm going to right click, move resize, and I'm going to choose all the space that I have. Okay, all the possible space, that is the 1.1 allocated space. I'm going to click OK. And as you can see now, the system partition has 1.2 gigabytes and a free space and use of 1.1. So I need only 50 megabytes. That is enough, 1.1 gigabytes. But this is only the planning. In order to these changes to take effect, you have to click on apply, and it's going to touch at low level the hard disk. Okay, so it's going to restart the computer. So we're going to do that. Okay, we're going to apply. In order, we have done two big changes. The first one is to resize the C partition from the left to the right in order to create a free space of 1 gigabyte in the middle of the system and the Windows partition. And the second step was to resize the system partition with that new free space that we have created. So let's click on apply. And it's saying, be careful, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's say yes. And it's going to do the work. Okay, it's going to take effect the changes that we are doing. So it's going to tell me, you have to restart. Yes, we're going to restart. Okay, Windows is restarting, and it's going to modify the partitions in the way that we have told with this program, with this partition wizard program. Okay. Now, fingers crossed, because it's a big change, and these big changes in the partition tables and the partitions schemes are, are dangerous. They can cause that your Windows crashes and it will not load again. So let's fingers crossed. It's restarting the virtual machine. Windows is starting. Partition wizard is going to do the changes. As you can see, it's first the C partition. The first operation is resizing and moving the C partition. So you can see that is resizing. It takes some time because it's a big change. Okay, I'm going to do this bigger. So you have to wait and not switch off or touching anything on the computer that you are doing these changes at this moment, because it's modifying everything. The partition table, the size, the sectors, everything is in the hard drive is being modified at low level. So be careful here. And usually you should not do this, but it's a shame that you cannot do an image backup with Windows, with the Windows image backup tool, because you don't have free space in the system partition, enough free space. That's why we're doing this, okay? First, it moves the data of the C partition, and then it modifies the size, and then it's modifying the size of the system partition in order to make it bigger with enough free space. Now it has 1 gigabyte of free space. So let's cross our fingers and check what is going to happen, okay? Okay, I'm doing this in real time, this video, because that way you can see what happens and at every time that you do this. But okay, let's log in and we'll see what has happened with the hard disk partition scheme. But it's a good sign that the Windows login window is here and Windows is loaded. Perfect. So Windows has not crashed with these operations. That's a good sign. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is to open the File Explorer in order to open then the disk manager. So I'm going to click on this PC, right click, manage, and let's check what we have here. Okay. Disk management. Okay, let's check this. It's loading. Perfect. It worked perfect. You can see here that the system partition it has 1.1 gigabytes, and the good thing is that this one, okay, the system, it has free space of 1.1 gigabytes, enough to have 50 megabytes that we in the past we only have 20 megabytes. So it was perfect. This is as 1 gigabyte smaller, but no problem at all. And we still have the data here and the recovery environment partition here. Okay, so we have this hard drive. Okay, you don't need that this big, but I wanted this big part, this bigger hard drive for doing the backup, to show you that the problem is not the destination hard drive, the external hard drive where you are going to copy the image backup. Okay, the problem is this system partition that you don't have enough free space. Okay, in theory we have solved that problem, so we're going back to the control panel we're going to open the control panel to check if we can do the backup, because that's the problem we have. Okay, so we go to System and Security, Backup and Restore Windows 7, create a system, create a system image here. And as I told you, you need an external hard drive prior to do this. Connect to your computer. I already have this X image backup hard drive. So I'm going to click Next. That's the destination of that's the destination of the image backup. And now I don't know why it's selecting the system and the OS C partition. That's perfect. That's what I need in order to an image backup. But I don't know why it's not selecting now this Windows recovery environment partition that in the past was selecting. So I don't know, maybe that's another part of the problem that I had in the past. But let's check first if this is working. Okay, you need the system partition because you have boot files here, and you need the Windows partition because you have Windows inside. So in order to do a C backup, a Windows backup, you need to back up those two partitions, the system and the Windows partition, the C partition. Okay, so I need to click Next, and it's telling me you are going to back up this, the system and the OS and Windows partition. Perfect. And let's click on Start Backup, and now let's fingers crossed again, because this was the point where we had the problem. And let's check if we have the same problem or the backup is going to be created properly. Okay, it's doing perfect. It's doing perfect. That was the problem. Okay, the problem was that the system partition had not enough free space. So the problem is solved, and it's backing up the two partition, the small system partition and the C partition with Windows and the programs. That's perfect. So it's creating the backup. Let's, I think it's fast because it's a new and fresh Windows installation with no new apps and that. So it's going to be fast. So in this video, you can see the convenience of creating a backup, Windows image backup, because it's really fast to create the backup, and with all your Windows, all your programs, all your customizations, personalizations, all your Windows updates, all your drivers, everything of the C partition, your registry, everything, your hardware customization, everything, it's in the C partition. So when you do an image backup and you have problems with Windows or your Windows crashes, you can do the reverse process that is restoring this image backup that now we are creating, okay? So you can see it's taking like, 2, 3, 4 minutes to create this. So it's really, really fast. And we're going to wait in order to finish, so you can see that the backup is created properly, okay? I don't want to touch anything. I'm going to wait the process to finish. Okay, and if you're watching this video on the YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe if this has been useful. And this has solved your problems, because it's a big problem, okay? It's a big problem. And now the image backup has finished, and it's asking me if I want to create a system repair disk that uses a flash drive and is going to format in a bootable way to create the Windows recovery environment there, okay? That's what I told you before. I'm not going to create this. I'm going to select no, but if you have a flash drive, you can do it, okay? The backup completes successfully, great. So it's finished, and now I'm going to see if the files are there, okay? So as you can see, it's there because this image backup hard drive, external hard drive, was empty, and now it has information there, and it's this folder, Windows image backup. I'm going to open this, but you need to click continue because it's a protected. Those are protected folders, so you have to click continue, okay? And here you can see the backup. And we click here, continue, and you have the files inside, okay? You can order by size, and as you can see, it has a big file of like 19 gigabytes, okay? So my Windows was like 20 gigabytes of space, so all my C partition is safe here. So if my Windows crashes, I can boot from a recovery environment from the internal hard drive with the function combination keys, or better with an external USB flash drive with the Windows recovery environment inside, with the Windows installation files inside. And you can do the reverse process, that is connecting this hard drive, this external hard drive, and restoring this image backup that we have created right now, okay? And you will have your Windows, your C partition perfect that way it is right here in the image backup, okay? So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.